I didn't plan to notice, that's the thing. It starts small, like how her car always pulled in a little later than it used to, or how she used to call on her way home, but lately her phone would go to voicemail first. Little stuff, easy to ignore, at least if you want to ignore it. She started dressing differently for work, more deliberate, less just throwing something on. Lipstick she hadn't worn in years, the one I bought her on our trip to Charleston, tucked away in a drawer until one day it was. I asked her once, soft, like I was asking about the weather. Long day. She smiled, that tight-lipped smile that didn't reach her eyes, and said, "You wouldn't believe it, we're swamped." Then she kissed my cheek like she always had, same rhythm but colder, like a recording. I told myself she was just stressed. I told myself a lot of things. The name came up again, same guy from accounting. "Mark's covering the Daniels file," she said, not even looking up from her laptop. "He's a lifesaver." Mark, always Mark. Once I joked, "You sure he doesn't want a raise, or your number?" She laughed, not the way she used to. "He's married, don't be weird." Then she closed her screen. It wasn't what she said, it was how quick she was to say it, too smooth, like she'd practiced. I didn't push, I just watched. There's something about silence that makes liars uncomfortable. I stopped asking. She started volunteering. "I stayed late last night. Mark's car wouldn't start. I didn't want to leave him. We had to rework the whole pitch. Mark and I were the only ones left. Mark's wife is coming to the holiday party. I can't wait for you to meet her." The more she talked, the less I believed her. Then came the soccer game. Saturday morning. Our son had his first real match, the one he'd been begging us to come to all week. She showed up halfway through the first half, out of breath and overdone, hair curled, blouse tucked too neatly. "I had to swing by the office," she said, catching her breath. "Forgot my badge." She barely looked at the field. Then I saw him. Standing behind the bleachers, alone, no jersey, no kid, just there. She saw him too, I felt it. The way her spine straightened. How her mouth parted like she was surprised but not surprised. Her eyes darted once toward me like she was checking to see if I noticed. I didn't move. I bent down, opened the cooler, took out our son's water bottle, walked over to her. She reached for it without turning her head, like it was any other Saturday. But her hand shook. Not a tremble, a full, involuntary twitch. She steadied it fast, played it off by adjusting her sunglasses. Then she said, "Thanks," but her voice cracked like dry paper. I didn't say a word. Because right then, I didn't need to. The truth was standing 20 feet away, pretending to check his phone. Our son scored a goal 5 minutes later. The entire field cheered. I clapped. She missed it. I turned to tell her, but she was already texting someone. And I knew who. We met in the back hallway of a rundown animal shelter. She was kneeling by a crate with this terrified pit mix that wouldn't let anyone near him. I was trying to fix a busted latch on the door across from her. She said, "You're doing it wrong," without looking up. And then she smiled. That kind of sideways smile that makes you forget what you were doing. She slipped the treat through the bars, let the dog sniff her palm. I watched the dog inch closer, then just settle, like she'd flipped a switch inside him. That's how she made people feel, too. She asked about my job like it mattered. I was freelancing then, barely paying rent, still figuring out how to rebuild after a rough divorce. But she listened, like every answer meant something. By the time we went on our third date, I knew she was the kind of person who remembered how you took your coffee and where you left your keys. She made the world feel manageable. She told me I was solid. "You don't flinch," she said. I remember thinking that maybe I'd finally found someone who didn't need me to explain who I was. It was easy with her. That's the dangerous part. The kind of easy that makes you put your guard down without realizing it. We moved in together 6 months later. Not because we rushed it, but because it made sense. Her lease was ending, mine wasn't worth keeping. We spent Sundays assembling cheap furniture and laughing when it wobbled. She burned grilled cheese and I'd pretend not to notice. She used to hum while brushing her teeth. That little detail stuck in my head more than anything. That sound, soft, almost under her breath, felt like home. I proposed in our kitchen. No fancy dinner, no big production. I just handed her a mug that said, "Let's grow old together," and watched her read the words. She blinked at me once, twice, then said, "You remembered." She wasn't talking about the mug. She was talking about something she'd said the first night we made dinner together. She said, "If someone ever remembers my weird dreams or the way I count steps, I'll marry him." And I did remember. I always did. We got married under a tree in my aunt's backyard. Nothing flashy, just friends, family, and too many folding chairs. She wore flats because she said, "I want to walk into this without tripping." When our son was born, she held him like he was made of glass. She whispered his name like a secret and kissed his forehead for a full minute. We used to take turns doing midnight feeds, even when she offered to do them all. I said, "We're in this together." She said, "You always say that." And for a long time we were in it together. Work stress, diaper blowouts, late-night budgeting. We were one of those couples who could sit in silence and still feel connected. That's what I told myself anyway. She made us calendars, color-coded. Holidays, doctor's appointments, date nights. Our life had structure. It had flow. Every Sunday morning we'd do pancakes. Our son loved the messy kind, chocolate chips, strawberries, syrup everywhere. She always made the batter too thin and I'd thicken it behind her back. We never talked about it. It became our quiet routine. When she got the promotion, we celebrated with wine on the porch. She leaned on my shoulder and said, "I couldn't have done this without you." And I believed her, because she said it with her eyes closed, like it came from somewhere honest. There was this one night, years before everything shifted, when we were sitting in bed, laptops out, both working. She closed hers and said, "I never thought love would feel this calm." Then she looked at me. "Promise me we'll always be like this, boring and good." I said, "Promise." I meant it. I think she did too, back then. But love doesn't always announce when it starts changing. Sometimes it just thins out, like fog fading from a window. One day you wake up and realize you can see everything too clearly, and it's not what you thought it was. She used to hum while brushing her teeth. One day she stopped, and I didn't notice until it was already too late. The first thing I noticed was the shoes. She bought new ones, black pumps with a red sole, not cheap, not practical, not her. They sat on the entry bench for 3 days before she wore them. Then she started wearing them twice a week, always on the same days. Tuesdays and Thursdays. She said she had strategy meetings on those days. Big clients, lots of eyes, she shrugged, smoothing her dress. But she used to complain about that part, the politics, the peacocking. Now she leaned into it. I stood at the sink one morning, watching her fix her hair in the hallway mirror. She added a soft curl, sprayed perfume I hadn't smelled in years, the one from when we first dated. She used to save it for special nights. Now she sprayed it before heading to the office. I asked, "You meeting someone important?" She didn't flinch, just trying to feel like myself again. Then she kissed me, but it was fast, like a formality. She took her coffee in a to-go mug I'd never seen before. It had gold lettering. It said, "Make moves." I kept telling myself not to be that guy, the insecure one, the one who ruins a good thing by looking for cracks. But cracks don't wait for you to find them, they grow. She started working late, first once a week, then twice. Always said the same thing, "Mark and I are reworking projections. It's brutal." Always Mark. One night I texted her at 9:17. Just a simple, all good. She replied 2 hours later. Phone was dead, sorry babe. No period. No kiss emoji like she usually sent. And then she changed her lock screen. It used to be a photo of our son eating pancakes, his cheeks stuffed, syrup on his chin. She loved that picture. Now it was just black with the date. She didn't mention it, I didn't ask. But I stared at that screen for a long time while she slept next to me. The way people stare at graves they're not ready to visit. Passwords came next. The shared Netflix account started prompting me to log in again. Then it was the email for the streaming service we used for our son's cartoons. I asked casually, "Did you change it?" She blinked. "Oh yeah, I thought I told you." She hadn't. She used to tell me everything. The worst part, I started questioning myself. Maybe I was being weird. Maybe I was bored. Maybe this was just the dull part of marriage that nobody talks about. But then I found the planner. It was in her work tote, open to a page marked with a red dot, not her usual ink, not her handwriting either. Dinner reservation, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. I stared at it for a long time. She got home at 10:15 that night, said the meeting ran long. I said nothing. She walked past me, heels clicking on the wood floor like she was walking away from something. She poured herself wine, white, not red. She hated white. Then she sat on the couch and scrolled her phone while I watched our son sleep on the monitor. She didn't ask about his day. I started journaling after that. Dates, times, things said. Not because I needed proof, but because I needed to know I wasn't losing track of reality. She once told me journaling was for people who don't talk. Now I couldn't talk without her calling it pressure. One morning she left early, said she had a breakfast meeting. Her laptop was still on the kitchen counter, closed but plugged in. I stood there for a long time just looking at it. I didn't open it. Not because I trusted her, but because I wanted to. She came home late that night tipsy. Tried to climb into bed without brushing her teeth. She never did that. I asked if she was okay. She said, "I'm fine, don't make it a thing." Then turned away from me like I wasn't there. That night, I laid awake listening to her breathe. It used to calm me. Now it felt like counting seconds in a room full of silence. The next morning she was cheerful, too cheerful, made pancakes for our son, played music while packing his lunch. I watched her spin in the kitchen, laughing like everything was normal. But it wasn't her laugh. Not the one I knew. This one had an edge to it, higher, lighter, like it belonged to someone else. Or had been borrowed from someone who wasn't me. I walked out of the kitchen, stood on the porch, and breathed in cold air that stung my throat. That's when I realized I hadn't been in a marriage for weeks. I'd been in a performance. And I didn't know who was directing it anymore. It started with a teacher's voice. "Hey," she said, leaning toward me during pickup, all casual. "Your wife's friend, the one who picked up Jackson last week. I just wanted to make sure she's on the approved list." I blinked. "What friend?" She looked confused. The guy, tall, blue shirt, said his name was Mark. My mouth didn't move, but something in my chest pulled tight. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'll double check." She smiled. "No problem." Then turned away like she hadn't just snapped a thread that had been holding everything together. "Mark. He picked up my son. From school. No heads up, no permission, no emergency, just picked him up." I didn't say anything when I got home. I watched her stir soup in the pot like we were still in the same reality. She had music playing, something soft, familiar. Norah Jones, maybe. I asked, "Everything okay at work?" She turned slightly. "Yeah, why?" "Just checking," I said, leaning against the fridge. "Did you have to leave early last week?" She stirred the soup again. "Oh yeah, I wasn't feeling great, Mark offered to grab Jackson. His office is close, remember? She didn't look at me, just said it like it was normal, like it made sense. Right, I said, nice of him. And that was it. That was her version. But Jackson tells the truth, even when he's scared. That night after his bath, I sat on the edge of his bed, tucking the blanket under his chin. Hey, buddy, I said, who picked you up from school last Thursday? He thought for a second. Mom's work friend, the tall one. I nodded. What did he say? Jackson shrugged. He just said Mommy was busy. Then he added, he talks different when she's there, and she laughs different. I felt that line land in my chest like a hammer. She laughs different. Kids don't lie, they just repeat what they see. The next day, I checked the car. Her car parked in the garage like always. Same coffee cup in the console. Same reusable grocery bag in the back. But something was off. The passenger seat was pushed far back, like someone taller had been sitting there, not her. Then I saw it jammed between the seat and the console. Lipstick. Bright red, not her shade, not her brand. I picked it up and turned it over. Gold tube, worn label, no cap, like it had been dropped in a hurry. It wasn't hers. She didn't even wear red. She used to say it made her feel like she was trying too hard. I set it back where I found it, closed the door quietly. Still didn't say anything. 2 days later, the credit card bill came in. I always check it, not to spy, just habit. We agreed early in the marriage to stay transparent. I scrolled past the usual: groceries, gas, online baby clothes. Then I saw it. $184.97, Mason Lucian. A restaurant we hadn't been to in 2 years. The kind of place you book a week out. Candlelight, chef's tasting menu, her favorite. I checked the date, Thursday. The same Thursday Jackson said, Mommy laughs different. I didn't ask who she went with. I didn't need to. I just sat there, staring at the charge, feeling like I was reading the autopsy of our marriage. She came in an hour later, talking about a coworker's birthday and how she was tired of cupcakes. She kissed my head, then noticed the envelope on the table. Oh, bills, she said, picking it up. I thought I paid that one. She didn't even look at the statement. That night, I lay next to her and watched the shadows from the street lamp move across our ceiling. She breathed steady, like nothing was wrong. But I felt something break in me. Not a snap, more like a shift, a door that quietly closed behind me. The next morning, I opened a new tab and typed in, family lawyer discreet. I wasn't ready for war. I wasn't even angry, not yet. I was just done waiting for her to hand me the truth. I printed every statement, cross-referenced her calendar entries, screenshotted text previews I'd caught by accident, took photos of the lipstick, even recorded Jackson's bedtime story the night he said, Mommy's friend said I could call him Uncle. I started a folder, labeled it when I need it. She once told me I was too trusting. I guess she was right. But that trust had done something she didn't expect. It gave her room to slip, and me room to watch. She thought I'd never look, never question. But now I saw everything. And I wasn't going to ask for the truth anymore. I was going to collect it. I didn't confront her. I didn't need to. Confrontation gives them a stage, lets them twist the story, paint your clarity as insecurity. I'd done enough of that, playing the calm one, the peacemaker, the husband who gives the benefit of the doubt even when the doubt is rotting the floor beneath him. So I stopped playing. It began on a Wednesday. She was humming again, a different tune this time, something upbeat, forced. She made breakfast and kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't spent the night texting someone she once introduced as just a coworker. I waited until she left, waited until the garage door closed and I couldn't smell her perfume in the hallway anymore. Then I opened the laptop. Bank accounts, shared logins, The digital life we'd built together, hers with colors and planners, mine with quiet structure. I had built every financial tool we used, set up the accounts, chose the passwords, made sure she could access them all. Now I changed them. Not to punish her. To protect myself. The joint business fund restructured. I moved my portion into a separate LLC under my name, legally clean, paper trail airtight. She never read the fine print when I set it up, said, "I trust you." And I believed her when she said it. The crypto wallet she never paid attention to, that wasn't in the prenup. I made sure of it when I drafted the update 2 years ago. She laughed and said, "Why would I ever come for that?" She wouldn't, but he might have asked her to. I pulled out a manila folder, filled it with everything: photos, statements, a printout of the dinner receipt, my notes, every lie, every excuse, every missing hour. I wasn't angry when I wrote them down. I was surgical. On top of the stack, I placed the photo of her and our son at the lake. Summer sun, water behind them, her arms wrapped around him like she'd never let go. I wanted her to see what she was risking. I left the folder on the kitchen table. Just the word transparency, written on the front in black Sharpie. Next to her favorite mug, the one that said, "But first, coffee." Still clean, still empty. Then I packed a bag. Just a weekend one. Enough clothes for Jackson and me. Left the toy he sleeps with on top so she wouldn't think it was a threat. This wasn't about taking him away. It was about reminding her who always shows up. When she got home that night, we were already gone. I didn't block her. I didn't call her. I left one voicemail, calm, precise. "We're at my sister. I'm safe. He's safe. The folder is on the table. If you want to talk, start with the truth." She called 17 times, texted things like, "Please just talk to me. You're overreacting. This isn't what you think. I love you, come home." I didn't respond. Because there's a power in silence that yelling never holds. And I wanted her to sit in it. 2 days later, she showed up at my sister's house. Didn't knock, just waited in the driveway, wearing sunglasses though it was cloudy. Her hair was pulled back tight, the same way she used to wear it when she needed control. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She opened her mouth. I raised my hand. "Did you read the folder?" She hesitated, blinked, then said, "Some of it." I nodded. "You'll need to read all of it before we talk." She looked down. "Can I see him?" "Not today." She swallowed hard. "He's asking for me. He asked why Mark picked him up." Her eyes snapped up. That got her. I didn't press, I didn't accuse. I just waited. She finally said, "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." That was her confession, wrapped in soft language. No names, no details, no ownership. I said, "That sentence is for car accidents, not affairs." She winced, not because I raised my voice. I didn't. It was the words, the plainness of them. Then I turned and walked back inside. Not because I wanted to punish her. Because for the first time, I didn't feel responsible for her pain. She stood in the driveway for a while. Eventually she left. She didn't come back the next day, or the one after that. And when she finally texted again, it just said, "I understand." That was the last time I saw her trying to hold onto anything. Because now I wasn't holding anything back. You'd think revenge feels like a moment. A slam of the door, a mic drop, something that echoes. But the real kind, the one that sticks, doesn't come with noise. It's quiet paperwork, timelines, prepared folders, the kind that doesn't need a second draft. The Monday after she stood in my sister's driveway, I sat down with my lawyer. She was calm, sharp, and direct, didn't flinch when I said the word infidelity. Just asked, "Do you want custody or control?" I said both, but I'm not trying to destroy her. She nodded, then we moved smart. By Friday, every account that had my name on it had been cleaned and separated. Nothing hidden, just redefined. The business we started together, technically, legally, it was mine. She never wanted the paperwork. "You're better at that stuff," she said when we filed for the LLC. Now that stuff meant she had no claim to it. She hadn't contributed since maternity leave, but still called it ours during dinner parties. I rewrote the mission statement, took her photo off the site, removed her admin access, and notified the board. No fireworks, no announcement. Just changes. I even kept her on payroll. For a month. Let her see the checks stop coming on their own. Then there was the crypto wallet. She once joked that crypto was your weird little hobby. But while she rolled her eyes at my spreadsheets, I was building a safety net. The prenup covered joint assets. Crypto wasn't one of them. She'd signed the amendment without blinking. "You handle that tech stuff," she said. So when my lawyer asked, "Is this your personal investment separate from marital funds?" all I had to do was show the transaction history. Dates, times, deposits. Unarguable. Gone. Not hidden, just legally unreachable. She emailed me a week later. Subject line, "Are we still partners?" No greeting, no signature. Just a one-line question. I didn't answer. Not because I was trying to hurt her, but because I didn't owe her the comfort of pretending we were still on the same side. I documented everything for Jackson's future, too. Every bedtime story, every soccer game, every checkup. I kept receipts. I wanted no confusion. When custody talks began, her lawyer pushed for joint, flexible visitation. Mine submitted a parenting schedule that detailed every school day, holiday, and minute of transition. Clear, predictable, protective. She looked at me across the mediation table. Eyes glassy. Voice tight. "I don't want to fight." I said, "Then don't." That's when I saw it. Not regret. Not sadness. Just realization. That the man she once called her rock had stopped softening the edges for her. There was one moment in court when the judge asked her about Jackson's school schedule. She fumbled, confused his art teacher with his PE coach. I didn't smile, I didn't gloat. I just opened my folder and handed the judge our son's weekly schedule, highlighted, printed, laminated. She stared at the table. I didn't. I watched her crumble without a word, the same way I'd been crumbling for months in silence. Later that week, her sister texted me. Said she's not herself lately. "I don't know what you did, but it worked." I didn't reply. Because it wasn't about working. It was about waking up. About setting boundaries where I used to set forgiveness. When the final custody agreement was signed, I walked out of that office lighter. Not because I'd won, but because I hadn't let her break me trying to save her. And for the first time in years, I drove home without checking my phone. No missed calls. No half-truths waiting in texts. No apologies shaped like riddles. Just silence. Peaceful. Sharp. Mine. She moved in with her sister. Said it was just for a bit. I didn't ask how long. I didn't ask anything. There was a time when I would have offered to help her pack. Now I watched the moving truck from the upstairs window, the same way you watch a storm leave, quietly, with relief. She left half her things behind. Books she hadn't touched in months. A scarf I bought her 2 Christmases ago, still draped on the hallway hook. Even the mug I gave her when she got the promotion, the one that said "Keep climbing." I placed it in a box and taped it shut. Didn't leave a note. She texted on Tuesday. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a while. Not because I was tempted, but because I felt nothing. No anger, no ache. Just nothing. 2 hours later, she tried again. I know I messed up. I miss you. I miss us. I didn't respond. Instead, I picked Jackson up from school, bought him that ridiculous dinosaur-shaped bubble gun he'd been eyeing for weeks, and watched him run around the backyard like the world had never tilted. That night he asked, "Is Mommy still at work?" I paused, then said, "No, buddy, she's just living somewhere else now." He nodded slowly, "Okay." Then he went back to his coloring like it didn't shake his world in the same way it had shattered mine. Kids are resilient, but I wasn't banking on that. I was building something new, one silent, solid brick at a time. She tried one more time, our anniversary. The message just said, "Do you ever think about the good parts?" I read it. Then I archived it. She called me cold once, said I was too composed. But she never understood. The calm came from choosing clarity over chaos. I wasn't cold. I was done. She unfollowed me on everything. Blocked then unblocked. Tried to provoke something. But I'd already ghosted her in the one place she didn't expect, emotionally. Our friends asked questions. What happened? Was it really that bad? You guys seemed perfect. And I just said, not everything shows up on the outside. They stopped asking. I heard through someone that Mark's marriage didn't survive. His wife found texts, receipts, the usual. Apparently, he's not at the company anymore. She's still there, though. Still smiling, still performing. But not with me watching. Sometimes I see her name pop up in an old email chain or a calendar notification I forgot to delete. I don't open them. I don't need to. Because when you finally stop begging for answers, the silence speaks loud enough. And now, for the first time in years, I hear myself again. People think betrayal hits like a wrecking ball. But it doesn't. It's quiet. It's a phone face down. It's a changed password. A different laugh. It's the soft click of a door that doesn't close all the way anymore. You don't even realize you're bleeding until you're soaked in it. And when you do, when you finally see it, it's not rage that shows up. It's clarity. Cold, clean, and late. She said once that I was the safest person she ever knew. And I believed that meant I was irreplaceable. What it really meant was, I was easy to leave because I'd never make her feel chased. I think that's what scared her most in the end. That I didn't fight. I didn't scream. Didn't beg. I just walked. And kept walking. There's no dramatic end to this story. No breakdown, no tearful reunion. Just space. And a silence I now guard like a treasure. I don't replay the memories anymore. I used to. Every laugh, every plan, every time she said, "We're forever." But those moments belong to a version of her that doesn't exist anymore. And maybe never did. What I know now is this. I was never crazy. I was never controlling. I was never too much. I was just asking questions someone didn't want to answer. And I won't apologize for that. Jackson's older now. He still talks about her. Kids don't stop loving just because adults do. But he also laughs louder now. Sleeps easier. So do I. There's peace in knowing you didn't destroy someone. You just stopped letting them destroy you. And if I could go back, I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't plead. I'd do it exactly the same. Because sometimes, the real revenge isn't watching them fall. It's watching yourself rise quietly, steadily, and never looking back. This is Revenge with Camden. If you've ever been betrayed by the person you trusted most, hit subscribe. You're not alone.